Hello everyone, my name is Victor. I am the Occult Technician, and this is Mind War, Season 6, Episode 7. Welcome back to Mind War, folks. I appreciate you being here. We have a lot to cover today. So folks, we're still here at the Mind War Manor, caring for Mother and Father Mind War. Mom is upstairs, resting as comfortably as she can in her current medical state. And Father Mind War, he is actually in the other room watching some war documentaries, of course. So, it's been a long few weeks. You know, I've been here for several weeks now. We face different challenges every day, every week. Something new is arising, but we're meeting the needs of Mother. That's most important right now. And then my job, of course, is to make sure Dad is continuing on with life the way that he normally did. And I think we're creating a great routine. I'm really, I've been very mindful watching him as he goes throughout his daily routine and trying to help him meet his needs. And try to have some fun too. And my friend Leo, my Boston Terrier, my best buddy, he's been here with us, of course, the whole time. And Dad and Leo have really just taken to each other. They really are having a great time together, and it's fun seeing Dad laugh. Right? Leo is quite the character, and Dad really, really enjoys it. So one of the things that we've talked about throughout the Mind War podcast, especially with conjunction to the Gateway Experience tapes, right? The only kind of commandment we've really talked about is, number one, having your own experience and then sharing it with others. That's the most important thing that we can do. That's why I'm doing this podcast for all of you here today. And so I know in recent podcasts, we've kind of talked about some of the haters of the Gateway Experience and stuff, but I thought, today we should, I wanted to, give a shout out to some of the other YouTube channels. There are other people out there who are doing exactly what I'm doing here today. So there's a couple of other great channels. I mean, there's really a ton of them out there. There's so much content about the Gateway Experience tapes that I think if you're a fan of what I'm doing here, you've probably done your own research into the Gateway Experience tapes and have found some of these other channels. But I wanted to mention two of them in particular. These gentlemen, I've been in contact. We've been able to kind of share some war stories together, if you will. And the first one is, these are both such nice guys, right? They're very gentle, very sweet guys. They're not hate-filled maniacs like your buddy Victor here. You're not going to find some of the audacious stuff like you find here on Mind War on their channels. They're much chiller guys than I am. But the first one is Michael Superstar. You can find him on YouTube at Michael Superstar 606. A great series of videos. Again, he's doing the same kind of thing that we're doing here with each tape. He's sharing his experiences. Much like with my channel, you can watch from his early tapes and how he is evolving. He's kind of building a studio, and the thumbnails get better. Like the channel, just like here in the Mind War podcast, his channel just keeps improving with every video. Again, a very sweet guy, very, very fun to watch, and I think you should hear his experiences as well. And then the next one is My Gateway Experience, and you can find him at The Gateway Experience on YouTube. What a cool channel name. He got that. It's at The Gateway Experience. Again, another young man going through the tapes, a very sweet guy. You're going to get a lot of great information from him, again, with how it's affecting his life. Very cool talk about, the intuition and things like that, and trusting his gut, and all of the type of things that we talk about here. We're seeing a lot of those same things. And it's important for me to share this with you because, again, the goal is to compare. One of the most important things that we can do and why we share our stories is so we can compare them together. So what you have here in the Mind War podcast through this Gateway Experience series, again, by the time we're done with this, it's going to be 40-something episodes, right? I mean, it's hours and hours of content of me sharing my experiences. The same thing with these gentlemen here. It's so important to get that information across versus what we see with, again, some of the haters, right? Where they just try to demean what we're doing here, or just some of the other basic podcasts, right? The conspiracy theory podcasts where they go and they might have a guest on who talks about the Gateway Experience tapes for 1 hour, talks about some of the conspiracies around it, and then that's it. They don't get into detail, right? My hope is someday to be one of those guests, but for the time being, I have to still live my story. That's why I haven't gone on any other podcasts yet, because I'm still in the middle of my supernatural story here. These events that are occurring to me, that are occurring in my life, I'm afraid to go onto other shows and start talking about them right now because they're still happening. And there's something beautiful about that, right? And it's something exciting about that. So again, it's that one commandment we follow: have your own experience and share it with others. I thought we needed to address the positive out there with the Gateway Experience. Again, you can find the YouTube channels at Michael Superstar 606 and at the Gateway Experience. Just a couple of nice guys sharing their experiences as well. I think that would be something worth checking out. So now let's get back into analysis and assessment of the Gateway process, a Department of Defense report written by Lieutenant Colonel Wayne McDonnell. And let's see. We left off on section 7, and we got some interesting stuff to read here. Okay, section 7, frequency following response. To achieve synchronization of brain hemispheres, the hemi-sync technique takes advantage of a phenomenon known as the frequency following response, frequency following response, which means that if a subject hears a sound produced at a frequency which emulates one of those associated with the operation of the human brain, the brain will try to mimic the same frequency pattern by adjusting its brainwave output. Therefore, if the subject is in a fully awake state but hears sound frequencies which approximates brainwave output at the theta level, the subject's brain will endeavor to alter its brainwave pattern from the normal beta to the theta level. So basically, when we hear these frequencies that are found in the Gateway Experience tapes and so many other meditation tapes, right? That's the beauty of what we find in the Gateway Experience tapes, is that they are very unique, but it's also a lot of the same frequencies that we hear on countless other videos, other meditation techniques, right? And so what the author is saying here is that when we hear these specific patterns, these beta patterns, or the theta patterns, frequencies, right? That's going to get us into a calming, more relaxed state. So simply just hearing these frequencies allow us to relax and move from that beta to the theta level. Since the theta level is associated with sleep, the subject concerned may progress from a fully awake to a sleep state, provided that he does not consciously resist, as the brain strives to entrain its wave frequency output with the one which the person hears. So, again, there has to be some conscious resistance when you're listening to the tapes. I've talked about it before. You cannot allow yourself to just fall asleep. If you do, you're going to disconnect from what the narrator is trying to guide you, the story that he's trying to guide you, the experience that he's trying to guide you through. If you just fall asleep, you're going to fall asleep into the dream state. You might remember those dreams, but you're not going to accomplish the goals of listening to the tapes. That's why we do have to consciously resist falling asleep when we listen to the tapes. And one of the ways that we do that is, again, through symbolism. Have your own symbols. Look at them before you start listening to the tapes. Make sure that you can visualize them in your mind. And when you start drifting off, you'll notice your physical eyes will start to kind of roll back in your head, and the dreams will start to appear. You have to snap yourself out of it if it's not associated with the purpose of the tape, right? You have to snap yourself out of it. Focus on your symbol. You're now going to be consciously imagining something in your mind, and when you do that, it helps you stay awake. So you're not just drifting off into sleep, right? Since these brainwave frequencies are outside the spectrum of sounds which can be heard in pure form by the human ear, hemi-sync must produce them based on another phenomenon known as the brain's capacity for deducing beat frequencies. Okay, so this is kind of interesting. If the human brain is exposed to one frequency in the left ear, which is 10 hertz below another audible frequency played in the right ear, rather than hearing either of the two audible frequencies, the brain chooses to hear the difference between them, the beat frequency, thus availing itself of the FFR phenomenon and using the technique of beat frequencies. The gateway system uses hemi-sync and other audio techniques employing the FFR phenomenon to introduce a variety of frequencies which are played at a virtually subliminal and marginally audible level. Okay, so two things that we got to look at there. First, it's saying that the gateway experience tapes use a variety of frequencies which are played at a virtually subliminal and marginally audible, meaning we can barely hear them, and they're almost subliminal in their in how we hear them, right? It's so low, and I've talked about this before, that in these advanced tapes, they start to inject sounds that are so quiet. They're below the sounds of the waves. They're below the sounds of the rocket ship. And they're so quiet that your brain is trying its hardest to hear them. And what that does is, like the author here says, the brain chooses to hear the difference, okay? What was happening is your brain is so desperately trying to hear these minute, almost inaudible sounds, it fills in the gaps. And that's where I was saying that I was starting to hear things like classical music. It was very, it becomes an auditory hallucination because you know that you're not hearing classical music while you listen to the tapes. But because your brain is desperately trying to hear these minute, almost inaudible sounds, it starts to fill in the gaps. And when those gaps are filled, you get things like, auditory hallucinations that, again, for me, sounded like, classical music and stuff like that. It was very cool. Those are great experiences, and it feels wonderful. The objective is to relax the left hemisphere of the brain, place the physical body in a virtual sleep state, and bring the left and right hemispheres into coherence under conditions designed to promote the production of ever higher amplitude and frequency of brain wave output. Audible and perhaps subliminal suggestions by Bob Monroe accompany the various brainwave frequencies, which are sometimes rolled in together with other sounds such as sea surf to make the sound frequencies where desirable. Again, when the narrators speak to us, there is nothing subliminal there. We can find the transcripts of the tapes. We can see exactly what they're saying. They speak clearly in English, right? There's no, as far as I could tell, no subliminal words or anything like that being said. I've never heard any of these low audible sounds where it sounded like someone was talking or trying to brainwash or, mind control or any of that. I haven't heard any of those type of things. So this word subliminal, I don't know if it necessarily, makes sense exactly right here. Some of the sounds, again, they're so quiet, it may seem subliminal, but as far as actual subliminal messages in the English language being told to you, I've never heard anything like that, and I just don't think that's true. In this, Gateway endeavors to provide the subject with the tools by which he may alter his consciousness based on his own volition over time through the repetitive use of the tapes, so as to access, via intuitive means, new categories of information not available to ordinary consciousness. Again, this is a DoD report written by an Army lieutenant colonel in combination with a bioengineer, and this is the type of things that they're saying. Again, through repeated use of the Gateway Experience tapes and the tools that we're taught while listening to them, we can alter our consciousness based on our own volition over time, meaning volunteering. We are volunteering to do this. We all know that. That's one of the most important things. We are volunteering to do this work. The mind warriors, citizen samurais, guerrilla gurus, and warrior monks that explore the gateway, it's done voluntarily. And over time through repetitive use. Absolutely. This is my second, almost third time going through the tapes. This is my first full time. Again, as I've been very, honest with, I didn't even know there was a Wave 8 until a few months ago. We had already started the series before I realized there was a Wave 8, right? But it's that repetitive use. This is not a weekend seminar. This is not a pill you can take. This is not a psychic entrainment device that you can build and put on your head. None of that snake oil sales, none of that nonsense, right? This is repetitive exercise. We are exercising our mind. And again, I've already told you, prior to doing this, you should be exercising your physical, eating healthy, sleeping properly, cleaning your room, doing all the normal things that you need to do for self-help. And I know it can be hard. I know those steps are often what stop people from even getting started. But it all plays together. And everything doesn't have to be perfect when you listen to the tape the first time. I'm telling you, when I listened to I listened to basically Wave 1 through Wave 5, the very first time, I was an emotional disaster. And that's when I needed the tapes. I had very profound experiences dealing with emotions and concerns and worries and dealing with the past and all that stuff. That was wonderful through that first time. Now this second time, really going through the tapes as thoroughly as we are now, I'm doing my best to take a much more scientific approach to it. Again, creating these schedules, sticking to them, coming down here week after week, sharing these stories, having these experiences, right? So again, it's repetitive use on a voluntary basis, and this is what's so amazing. Again, a military officer is saying this, that when we do this, we get access to intuitive means. Again, our intuition, that's one of the main tools that we're strengthening through this process, is our intuition, our ability to trust our own gut. And when we do that, we're going to find new categories of information. Okay. When is the last time a new category of information has broke onto the scene? Yes, we have information technology, but it's just regurgitating these same categories of information. We're getting deeper into science. We're getting deeper into math and health and the environment, and that's all wonderful. But now we're talking about new categories of information not available to ordinary consciousness. Now, who is ordinary consciousness, folks? That's everybody else. That's everybody else outside of our elite club here. The Gateway Explorers. Again, when you experience the tapes, when you do the work yourself, you become a member of this elite club of Gateway Explorers, and no one can take these experiences away from you once you have them. That's the beauty. They can't take it away. They can't change it. All right, so that was section 7, frequency following response. And in just a moment, we're going to move on to section 8, titled Role of Resonance. Okay, back to section 8 of analysis and assessment of the Gateway process. It's titled Role of Resonance. However, brain coherence through entrainment to beat frequencies introduced via stereo headphones is only part of the reason why the Gateway system works. Okay, I like that what he just said there. The Gateway system works. Again, we are hearing this from a group of men here, 2 men, right? Lieutenant Colonel McDonald and the bioengineer Bentov, right? Professionals, scientists, they're working for the military, very smart individuals, and they are telling us that the Gateway system works. That's crucial. That's great to hear. But it's saying that the frequencies alone aren't the only thing that make it work. Let's go on. It is also designed to achieve the physical quietude characteristics of deep transcendental meditative states, which brings about a complete alteration of the fundamental resonance pattern associated with the sound frequencies produced by the human body. Okay, working backwards. The human body produces sound frequencies. Okay. That's interesting. And the Gateway tapes can put us into physical quietude, so they can get us in a state of mind, in a physical state, which is characteristics of deep transcendental meditation. Again, they talk about it here, I think, shortly. In this next section, we'll just go on right here. It says yoga, Zen, and transcendental meditation, if practiced long enough, will produce a change in the sound frequency with which the human heart resonates throughout the entire body. So again, by listening to the tapes, we're achieving the same goals as yoga, Zen, and transcendental meditation. That does not mean that we're not going to also do yoga, that we're also not going to practice Zen or transcendental meditation. We can add those to it, because as we see, once we get through the Gateway Experience series and we move into magic and the spiritual side of things, all of these play together. It's not just one piece. You have to add it all together. And I think that's one of the problems with occultism, is everybody just chooses their one little niche and thinks that that's the way. But it's not. We have to add it all together. The answers have been here in front of us the whole time. The problem is, can you take all the puzzle pieces and put them together to create the picture? And that's what I desperately am trying to share with all of you. I believe that I've at least started to see what the picture of the puzzle is, right? I don't have all the answers. I haven't finished the puzzle yet, but I think that I can start to see where this is taking us, where it's leading us. And that's why I'm working so hard to share it with all of you. Okay, so again, when practiced long enough, This work that we do will produce a change in the sound frequency with which the human heart resonates throughout the entire body. So what we're about to read and do a kind of a deep dive on is our heartbeat through its physical process, right? So there's the beat itself, which is the frequency of heartbeats, and then there is the blood pressure, which is the amount of blood that is being transferred through each beat, right? So we have two different things there. But while it's happening, sound is being created. And you know that when you just, you can kind of lay down and cover your ears and you can hear your heartbeat inside of your head. We're not normally conscious to it. We don't think about it. We don't sit and hear our heartbeat all day long. But there are times when you do hear it. And when you do, we can realize, oh, okay, there is a sound frequency, a vibration being created in our body that resonates all throughout it. And here's how. According to Bentov, this change in resonance results from elimination of what the medical professionals call the bifurcation echo, so that the sound of the heartbeat can move synchronously up and down the circulatory system in a harmonious resonance approximately 7 times a second. Bentov describes the role played by the bifurcation echo as follows. When the left ventricle of the heart ejects blood, the aorta, being elastic, balloons out just beyond the valve and causes a pressure pulse to travel down along the aorta. The aorta is that big vein, right, that travels down from the heart and pumps the blood down to our legs, right? It says when the pressure pulse reaches the bifurcation in the lower abdomen, which is where the aorta forks into two to go into the legs. So again, that large vein that comes out of our heart that pumps the blood downwards, it splits and goes into the left leg and then the right leg. Part of the pressure pulse rebounds and starts traveling up the aorta. So when your heart beats, it makes that sound. That sound is creating a frequency vibration that's heading downwards. And when it splits at where it goes into the legs, now it's rebounding. An echo goes back upwards. And now you're having a natural hemi-sync occurring in your own body, where two vibrational frequencies are running into each other. Amazing. If in the meantime the heart ejects more blood and the new pressure pulse is traveling down, these two pressure points will eventually collide somewhere along the aorta and produce an interference pattern. Excuse me. By placing the body in a sleep-like state, the gateway tapes achieve the same goal as meditation in that it places the body in such a profoundly relaxed state that the bifurcation echo slowly fades away as the heart lessens the force and frequency with which it pushes blood into the aorta. The result is a regular, rhythmic sine wave pattern of sound which echoes throughout the body and rises up into the head in sustained resonance. Okay, so by listening to the tapes, we get into that relaxed state, and our body relaxes so much that our heartbeat can actually slow down, right? Maybe less heartbeats. Maybe it's not pushing as much blood. There's not as much pressure with each beat, right? And with that, if you think about this, if you're running or exercising and your heart's beating really fast and it's pumping a ton of blood, high blood pressure, right? There's going to be all sorts of the bifurcation here where the frequency waves that your heart is making, these sounds, are going up and down, they're running into each other, and it's going to be kind of chaotic in your body. But when we slow it down, that pattern becomes very smooth. And now we stop getting that rebound. So we're just getting a smooth flow, right? Almost like the resonant energy balloon. Okay, the roles of resonance, resonant energy balloon. We are creating those waves. We're harnessing those waves as they go up and down our body, right? The result, let's see. The amplitude of this sine wave pattern, which when measured with a sensitive seismographic type instrument, is about 3 times the average of the sound volume produced by the heart when it is operating normally. Okay. When we slow our body down and get into that relaxed sleep-like state, the vibrational sound that is produced by our heart is 3 times as loud as when we're just kind of in our normal beta state. Okay. That's definitely a new piece of information for me in my mind, is this idea that our body is constantly creating these energy waves, right? Because we hear about waves and frequencies in the body and all, and it all sounds so esoteric, and it just never really made sense until I kind of read through this, right? It makes sense that when your heart is beating, it's making a sound, and it's making a wave, a vibration, because we're having liquid pump through, just, liquid in a wave, just like in the ocean. You can visualize it. You can hear your own heartbeat at times, so you know that there is a sound there. And then you can kind of extrapolate that out and realize, oh, the body is constantly making this rhythmic wave frequency, these sounds. Truly amazing. Very cool stuff there. Again, that was section 8, titled Role of Resonance from Analysis and Assessment of the Gateway Process. And now, folks, we are going to, I can't believe this. I can't believe this is already happening, but we are on the final wave of the Gateway Experience tapes. We made it, folks. Wave 8 Union, Tape 1 Special Tour. And we'll do a deep dive in that tape when we return in just a moment. Okay, so let's dive into Wave 8 Union, Tape 1 Special Tour. Now, unfortunately, I don't have the transcripts for Wave 8. So, Waves 1 through 4, the transcripts were easily found on the internet. I found them in several different locations. Those are the oldest waves, right? Waves 5, 6, and 7, I was able to use some of the most advanced artificial intelligence known to man to listen to the tapes and create the transcripts for me. Unfortunately, while doing that, at the end of Wave 7, I ran out of AI coins or credits or whatever, and I thought, okay, no worries, I'll do the transcripts for Wave 8 at a later time. Now, because I'm here in the Mind War Manor and not back at the Mind War Estates where the Mind War Studios are, I do not have access to the Mind War database, one of the most powerful computer systems in the world. And so I wasn't able to get the transcripts for Wave 8. But, I think there was, there was an important piece that I was able to pick up. And that was Wave 8 has a new affirmation. Okay. And I got a copy of that. I want to read through that now. I think it helps set the tone of what we're going to be doing in Wave 8. Okay, this is, the final wave of the Gateway Experience tapes. We have a new affirmation, and it reads like this. I am much more than my physical body. It is my intent, through these explorations beyond physical matter reality, to contribute to the expansion of human consciousness. Okay? I thought that was beautiful. I like to think that my time spent here recording the Mind War podcast, doing the Gateway Experience series that we're working on here, I like to think that I am doing my part to contribute to the expansion of human consciousness. This is it. It's one of the final frontiers in science, okay? I know that all other categories of science, they're going to continue on, right? Math and engineering and all things are just going to get better and faster and awesomer than ever. And that's great. And that's cool. We can see that. But this science of the human consciousness, we are still in the infantile stage. We're still at the beginning. And here's why. Not because ancient humans didn't explore human consciousness. In fact, they were much more connected to it than we are today. The problem is that this science isn't passed down the same way that it was. Remember, this consciousness exploration, it had to be hidden through the secret societies, through the secret teachings, right? Over and over again, people who were in the past that were trying to do this exploration and trying to share it with others, they were demonized. And remember, the organizations, corporations, and institutions that demonize those people from the past are still in play and in power right now. And they are still being fundamentally driven by some of the most ridiculous, ancient, nonsensical stories. Primarily, the Abrahamic faiths are the ones that we are currently, subjugated to here in the West and throughout much of the world. And the people like us, they didn't make it through the Dark Ages unscathed. That's why they went underground. Again, I am not a member of any secret society. My worry, from what I heard from other men who've joined secret societies and came out of them saying it's nonsense, it's a boys' club, they're not teaching us anything about magic, they're not teaching us any of the secrets, right? Anything occult. It's just a lot of what I heard from guys who left secret societies, they're like, it's almost just like Christianity and Judaism and Islam. You just hear these old stories and you just regurgitate them, and there's really no connection. There's no experience, right? And so that's what we're doing. We are still, in some ways, facing the same blade as those who did during the Dark Ages. Because at any moment now, the knowledge and the information that we're sharing could become demonized again. Thankfully, I don't think that that's what's going to happen. I truly believe that we are in the dawning of the age of Aquarius. I truly believe that we are moving into an age of enlightenment. And we do that by contributing to the expansion of human consciousness, part of our Wave 8 affirmation. In consciously experiencing and acquiring knowledge of the realms beyond ordinary consciousness, I will work to bridge these realities. The realms. I love that word, the realms. We have been exploring realms. The different layers that we go through, these are different realms, right? The different states of being that we get into, our consciousness moves into as we listen to the tapes. These are different realms of reality. That's so amazing. And we are going to work together to bridge those realities, right? In doing so, I ask for help to be open, allowing, and calm. In perceiving clearly, responding appropriately, and carrying out my intent of service. So we're going to ask for help. We've done that. We've asked for help so many times. All sorts of different helpers have shown themselves to us. They've all been loving, caring, kind, patient with us. Nothing scary. The only thing that we ever ran into that was scary was Yahweh, the fake God of the Bible, who said, I am your Lord, and you will believe in me, whether you like it or not. And what did we learn? We learned that it's a lie. And then all you have to do is just tell him no a few times and he'll go away. So don't be afraid when you run into Yahweh, the filthy desert god. We're going to be open and calm and perceive clearly. And we are going to carry out our intent of service. That's what we're doing here. This is service. By coming out and sharing the stories, that is a service. And we are intentionally doing it. I'm coming down here intentionally, week after week, month after month, year after year, sharing this information with all of you. I am truly grateful for this assistance. I set forth empowered by the energetic field of my fellow explorers and acknowledgement of our oneness in love. And that's beautiful, right? I definitely feel empowered by the work that we're doing here. The energetic fields of my fellow explorers, we talked about some of them earlier. I can feel it resonating throughout my life. And the acknowledgement of our oneness, not just the oneness of the Gateway Explorers, but the oneness of all humanity. You're going to feel it, you're going to see it, you're going to come in contact with it. And it's that oneness in love. Love is very important. It's one of the main things that I've felt throughout the tapes. You feel warmth and love and caring, right? But don't forget about the importance of hate. Hate is just as important as love. Without things to hate, we would be missing out on so much. I know that sounds strange, but it's through the adversity and through the battles, through the struggles that we grow, right? And hate doesn't need to be a 4-letter word. All right, so that was the Wave 8 affirmation, okay? So again, I don't have the transcripts, so we're just going to go right into listening to what I recorded directly after listening to the tapes. This was just a few days ago that I listened. And let's see. Let's get my volume up here and see what I had to say. Wave 8, Tape 1. The narrator walks us to Focus 27. There I start by going to the fallen tree that Nate and I used to sit on, my friend Nathan. During the hot summers, we would sit there because, again, I'm trying to see if Nathan is out there, if he needs my assistance. So I thought this would be a great place to start. The narrator says that we can change this place if we need to, and so I began to think of other places that I used to hang out with Nate when we were building forts and playing in the woods. There was an old burned down house, and we used to play where all the foundation was and all the broken windows and stuff. And then we built a fort out of logs, and we just there were so many different places, and they all came together as one. And so the narrator says, okay, now that you've made okay, so again, Focus 27, we call it the reception center. We call it the garden, and the narrator calls it your special place. So again, the garden is larger. The reception center is made up of all sorts of different areas that we're going to talk about shortly. But it's also made up of your special place. So within the garden, you're going to create your own place. And again, for me, because my initial thought, once we made this transition from self-help in the Gateway Experience tapes to this idea that we're going to be helping others who have passed away move into the afterlife, I mean, I did not see that coming, folks. I really didn't. So my thought was, I'm going to try to see if I can find my friend Nathan, my childhood best friend who died just 3 months before I returned home. He died of a fentanyl overdose. I just saw some of his family today. It was so wonderful to see them, right? And so the special place within the garden that I have been visualizing is all the places here, just right near the Mind War Manor that we're at, the forest behind us. Nate and I used to play in all sorts of different areas, right? There was a fallen tree that we used to sit on where we would smoke weed and drink Slurpees as kids. And then we would build forts and stuff. And then there was, like I said in the tape, there was an old burned down house that we used to hang out with, and cinder blocks you could smash glass with, all the things that little boys want to do, right? It was great. It was a lot of fun. And so what I did was kind of visualize all those different areas together as one place in the garden, hoping, and maybe we'll see throughout the remainder of the tapes here, I don't know, but maybe we'll have a chance to reconnect with Nathan. If it doesn't happen during these tapes here, I may have to revisit and go back on specific missions to see if I can go find him, find some, figure out which of the tapes might work for that. And then in future episodes, when we're into the spiritual side and stuff, maybe I'll revisit some of these tapes and go try to find him. But that was my original intent once I realized we moved from self-help into helping people who have passed away. Now, of course, as we all know, for those of you that have been following along, as soon as this transition in the tapes began, we got word that Mother Mind War has lung cancer. And the coincidence that at this moment, we've done 9 months of these tapes, and at the exact moment that they change from self-help into helping others who have recently passed away, to have this news about my mother and the situation that we're in today, where she's in hospice in her final days, I believe. I mean, it's amazing. It cannot just be a coincidence. There has to be something more. The few people that I've talked to about it here, they are blown away. They said, I knew you were doing a podcast or something. I knew you liked spirituality and stuff, but I had no idea this is what you were doing. And they are really blown away by what's happening. And so am I, because it can't just be a coincidence. So again, what I've said so far is in tape 8-1, this special tour, we are in the garden, we're in the reception center. I created my own special place that I hope can attract Nate. But now the narrator is saying, now we're going to start exploring, and we're going to get a tour of some of the other locations within the garden. Changes, we're going to explore other places in Focus 27. And we started with the education center. And I saw myself laying in a blacktop parking lot with lights, and I could sense that there were buildings around near me. And it was like, I kept thinking, are these the education centers I'm supposed to go into? Because I hate the idea of just going into an institutional type building. I don't want to do that. And so as soon as I realized that, I just looked upwards, and there was like a connection that came down, white light connected to my mind, almost like a tentacle or something. I know that sounds strange, but that was the education, allowing it to flow into the mind by looking upwards and not recognizing we don't need to go into those institutional buildings, right? The next place. Okay, so that first place that the narrator takes us to in the garden is the education center. And so again, in my mind, it was like I was in a dream. I was laying down in a parking lot, nice new blacktop, perfectly painted lines, just a classic, parking lot where there was, some walkways and stuff, and you would have the parking lot lights, and I could just feel that around me there was, trees, and then there were buildings like if you were at a university or a college or just a school or something, right? These institutional style buildings. And I hate that shit, man. Mid 40s, I spent so much of my life in institutional buildings, right? Whether it's educational institutions, the military, medical, whatever it is, I hate the buildings. They're cold and awful and unhuman. And I don't ever want to have to go into another one again, right? And again, I'm not talking about being forced into some institutions. I'm talking about regular high school buildings, regular military style office buildings, regular office buildings for the businesses that I went to, regular hospitals. They're just awful. They were just poorly designed. I get it. They meet the needs for what we want, but I hope future buildings can be more humane. Okay. So in my mind, I'm visualizing this, and I'm just laying there on the parking lot, and I just am like, I'm not fucking going in. I'm not fucking going in. And I started having anxiety. I'm like, I'm not fucking going into an educational building. There's no way. And as soon as I stated that in my mind, I looked upwards. And this white light came and basically attached to my mind, right? And now there was a connection to something higher. And again, in the recording, I say it was something like a tentacle, maybe. It kind of felt like it was just placed on top of my head. And now again, you might not like this, but I'm going to try to find a picture in one of the Hellraiser movies when they kind of go into hell. One of the men there, the Centibites, right? I think that's what they're called. One of the monsters, he was actually connected to this kind of like tentacle-like connection that was going up to this bigger being, and he was floating around by his head, right? That's kind of what it looked like, but it was made out of light instead of like in the movie, it was this gross kind of fleshy type thing. So again, I'm just sharing with you what I saw. It was very weird. It was very strange. When I describe it to you, but please don't be afraid of it. It felt fine. There was nothing scary about it. There was no download of information. I didn't receive any information. I didn't receive any educational information because, again, this is just the special tour. This is like when you go to university for those first few weeks, you get the tour around the campus, and I think that's what was happening. So basically, in this first interaction with the education center, the narrator just kind of shows us how to get connected to this new system, right? This was the planning center. And from there, I saw other people, spirits, right, with their connections upwards, but we were also connected to each other in a grid-like format with the light. Our minds connected together. This is where the planning is done in Focus 27. Okay, so the planning center, again, a new location. There was none of the parking lot or feeling like there was buildings around or anything like that. We just moved directly into this kind of planning center, right? And what I saw was just other spirits like myself, kind of silhouette form like we've talked about before. I could see their connection, the white light connected to their minds, coming from above. But then I could also see horizontal connections going between all of us, like a grid pattern or a spider web or something like that, to where we could not only receive information, but we could also be sharing it with each other. That was kind of it. It was interesting. Again, I wasn't privy to any planning of anything or nothing like that. It was just more that introduction to this new location.
Next, the narrator says to go to the healing center. And I really don't even want to say this, but I'm going to explain it, what I saw and what I felt, and it's not what you think, okay? So, as I'm laying there, I feel like all around me, and I look and I feel kind of entities all around me standing on my right and left side, all the way from head to toe. And they were very tall, kind of shaped like gray aliens. I hate to even say that because that's not at all what they were. But they were holding me with their hands. All their hands were kind of interlocked, and it wasn't anything near detailed. It was just kind of glowing figures, lightly glowing, and as they were moving back and forth, very fluid. And as they were holding me, there was kind of this glowing liquid that I was in. I kept thinking of like a warm deprivation tank, but instead of it being dark, it was glowing this bright color. And so that was the healing center. Next.
Okay. The healing center. Okay. Again, just like I said in the tape, I saw myself laying down flat, right? And it was like I had done a trust fall. So we've all seen those where somebody, there's a line of people, and then another line of people standing face to face, and then someone falls backwards and they catch them. Everyone holds their hands out and they catch you in this trust fall. That's exactly what it felt like, but it wasn't people. It was like I described, entities that were very large, very tall, in the shape of a gray alien, but I didn't see any details. Okay, it wasn't like I was looking at their big black eyes and seeing their gray reptilian skin. It was none of that. It was more just the black silhouette of them. They were glowing. They had a green glowing aura around them, much like we've seen other spirits and stuff in the tapes as we've gone through them. And so on my right and left side, as I'm laying there, their hands are out like this. They're holding me in their hands like a trust fall. And it feels like there's a bunch of them, but it's almost like there's maybe just one, and he's just moving back and forth so quickly, right? That I'm seeing a bunch of just one, maybe. It was hard to tell. But as I'm laying there in their hands, they're holding me in this kind of trust fall situation, right? It's like their hands begin to fill up with this green glowing liquid, this energy, the same aura that was flowing around them. And now I'm kind of floating there, and it feels like a deprivation tank. I've never been in one, but that's kind of what I would suggest or guess what it feels like, right? You're just floating there, calm, comfortable, warm, felt great. There was no pain or anything. And that, I believe, is the Healing and Regeneration Center. It's very interesting. I can't wait to explore it in further tapes. And again, I am so reluctant to use the term gray alien. That is not what these were. They're just the best way to kind of describe the shape of what I think that I was seeing. And please don't let that, don't let it scare you away or anything. I do not think that they were aliens, not what we call gray aliens or whatever, but that was just the best way that I could kind of describe them. So
was I believe the coordination center. And so there, it felt as if I was floating downwards between two, just enormous ice walls, just floating down into the darkness, but there was I was going between two giant ice walls floating down.
Okay, so as I was moving to the coordination center, now there was some movement, some travel, and it felt like I was squished between two giant, like I fell into a cavern, like I was walking in the Antarctic or something, and you fall into a crack between the ice, and I'm just sliding down between these huge ice walls, and it's all black, and it just gets deeper and deeper and deeper as I slide and fall downward.
And when I finally landed, the narrator says, okay, now that we're in the coordination center, you're going to look and see what is beyond human earth life. And when he says that, I felt this enormous pressure of almost like a glass bowl. I think I've felt this before, where it just pressed down upon me. And now there's like this just huge, the opposite of that dome in Las Vegas, but instead of looking up at it, it's pushed down on you, and that is now your screen. And the narrator says basically, look out into the universe. And I tried, but it was very heavy. And I'm already dealing with a lot of heavy things in my life right now, and I realized that I just didn't want to look and see what was out there. We'll explore again another time, but the narrator told us to give thanks, and I did. I was thankful to have the opportunity to even experience these different locales in Focus 27.
Okay, so the coordination center, once I reached the bottom, kind of falling through these two ice walls, again, the narrator says, okay, now that you're in the coordination center, you can look out into the universe. You can look and see what life is beyond human earth life existence. That's just out in the universe, right? And so what happened is, again, I'm laying there, and it feels like someone took a glass bowl and pushed it down upon me. And now think, if you take a glass bowl and you had a bucket of water or something, and you put it in there, and the water kind of, shapes around it. That's what my perception felt like. It was like, this glass bowl was pushed down upon me, and now my perception went out into this kind of concave, just massive. And I could feel the weight of the universe pressing down on me, and feel the weight of this gateway, this portal, basically, to be able to look out into the universe. Now, just like I talked about, again, because this is the tour, I knew that I wasn't going to get deep into these tools, right? And because the situation that I'm in here at the Mind War Manor with my parents is so heavy right now. I've said before, it's difficult to enjoy fantasy when the heaviness of reality is upon you. So I just didn't have the heart to really look out into the universe and start looking for things. I looked out into the darkness. I knew where I was in the tool. I knew what I had in front of me and how powerful it can be. But I just didn't have the heart to look. So I just kind of looked downwards. And I hope all of you can appreciate that and understand why I did that, And, if you find yourself in that same situation where there are heavy things going on in your life, don't let that stop you from this practice. Continue going. I'm still here. Every day. I've told you a couple episodes ago, I made a deal. And we're going to talk about that deal more when we get into the spiritual side, the deal with the devil. There's no stopping, right? If you want to know more about that deal today, go back to Mind War, Season 1, Episode 1. In the first 5 minutes, I talk about it. And we'll get into more detail into that later, but, as you go through this, and as you start to manifest things in your life, and as the universe starts to give you things that you may not even have known that you needed, there's going to be a heaviness to it. And that doesn't mean that we can stop. You have to keep going, right? So that's exactly what we're doing. We're still down here, despite the difficulties of these last few weeks, and the last couple of days were rough, but got myself cleaned up today, and just set up the Mind War Manor studio here, and it's great to be here sharing these stories with you. Again, I hope all of you appreciate that what I'm doing here, but I want you to know that this means a lot to me to be able to do this. It's very therapeutic to come and talk about these type of things. One, because of the situation that my family is in right now, but also the cherry on top of that is that we're exploring really cool things. This is very sci-fi stuff. The spirituality meets scientism. I love it. I love exploring this, and I'm so excited to do it. And I appreciate you being here. And as always, folks, remember, harden your hearts and open your minds, because this is Mind War.